Assalamualaikum and hi. Today me and my group members will present about Region 6, which is North Africa and Southwestern Asia. So, my name is MOHD JAFFAR and I will start with North Africa. North Africa has several countries in it, namely Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Sudan, Tunisia and Western Sahara. Northern Africa is separated from the rest of the continent by the Atlas Mountains, which extend across parts of Morocco.
Hi and Assalamualaikum, my name is NURUL and I'll explain more about Northern Africa sub-region. Northern Africa has a long history of political and cultural contacts with nations and regions outside of Africa, especially Mediterranean and Southwest Asian cultures. Islam is the dominant religion in North Africa and the Horn of Africa. It has also become the predominant religion in the Swahili Coast as well as the West African seaboard and part of the interior. The discovery of oil and natural gas reserves in the desert transformed the economies of Algeria and Libya. Oil rigs now dot the landscape in the two nations, with Libyan oil being the most prized due to its low sulfur content. The economies of Northern Africa have also revitalized in other areas. For example, phosphates have risen to become one of the largest exports of Morocco. Egypt and Tunisia have taken a different approach to economic sustainability, relying on the tourism industry as a vital component of the country's income.
Now we will move to Southwest Asia. Southwest Asia involves three subregions, namely the Arabian Peninsula, the Eastern Mediterranean and the Northeast. The Arabian Peninsula includes Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, United Arab Emirates and Yemen. The Eastern Mediterranean consists of Jordan, Palestine, Lebanon, Egypt, Syria and Israel. And lastly, the Northeast include Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now, let's get a little deeper into the Arabic Peninsula. The Arabian Peninsula is a peninsula of Western Asia which is situated northeast of Africa on the Arabian Plate. The Arabian Peninsula is the largest peninsula in the world. Geographically, the Arabian Peninsula includes Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Yemen. The Arabian Peninsula formed as a result of the rifting of the Red Sea between 56 and 23 million years ago and bordered by the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. The peninsula plays a critical geopolitical role in the Arab world and globally due to its vast reserves of oil and natural gas. The peninsula's total area is about 1.2 million square miles, while the length bordering the Red Sea is approximately 1.2 thousand miles and the maximum breadth from Yemen to Oman is 1.3 thousand miles. The country is officially a Muslim nation and most Saudi Muslims are Sunni. However, a Shia minority accounts for an estimated 10% to 15% of the population. Additionally, Saudi Arabia is a young country in 2015, which about 56% of the kingdom's Muslims were under the age of 30. So that's all from me. I leave it to FATIHAH to continue the presentation.
I will continue present about Southwestern Asia sub-region, which is the Eastern Mediterranean. Eastern Mediterranean is a loose definition of the eastern approximate half or third of the Mediterranean Sea, often defined as the countries around the Levantine Sea. It typically embraces all of the sea's coastal zones, referring to communities connected with the sea and land greatly climatically influenced. It includes the southern half of Turkey main region Anatolia, its smaller Hatti province, the island of Cyprus, the Greek Dodecanese island, and the countries of Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, Israel, Jordan and Egypt. The next sub-region is the Northeast. The nations in this sub-region include Turkey, Iran, Iraq and Afghanistan. They are predominantly Muslim. Only Iraq is Arabic in its cultural life. Several of the ancient world's great civilizations were based in this sub-region. part of the cultural hearth known as the Fertile Crescent is located here. Some of the earliest civilization developed in the area that is now Iraq. They grew up along with Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Sumer, Babylon, Assyria, and Chaldea all built empires in Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers. The people who live in this sub-region claim membership in such ethnic groups as Kurds, Turks, Persians, and Assyrians. They speak language such as Turkish and Farsi. That's all for sub-region, and I'll pass to the next presenter to continue with the next topic.
The countries of North Africa share similar climatic and geographical characteristics, but they differ in terms of their economic progress, social and political development. So now, we will look further into the economic activities in North Africa. The first one is the agriculture sector, which is still one of the most important sectors in North African countries, contributing at least 10% to each national GDP of the region. The only exception is Libya, as it made up less than 2% of its GDP. This region depends on its fertile areas for farming activities and exports citrus fruits, vegetables including tomatoes, potatoes, onions, peppers, and eggplants. North Africa represents one of the most important oil and gas producing region in the world because of its geographic situation, making an intersection between Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, an important transit corridor for global energy market. North Africa oil and gas landscape is centered on two producing countries, which is Algeria and Libya. The export account for a dominant share of their market and state budget revenues. The tourism industry is a major source of income in North Africa, especially in Morocco and Tunisia. These countries' coastal location, history, and cultural sites and stable political environment make it appealing for backpackers and adventure tourists. Tourism also increases both formal and informal economic opportunities, as North Africans find formal employment with hotels and tourism companies and offer their informal assistance as guides who open their homes to travelers. Next, we go to the Nile Valley. Egypt and Sudan are utterly dependent on the Nile River Valley as it provides water supply to their country. Egypt is the third largest economy by GDP in Africa after Nigeria and South Africa, accounting for 12.5% of continental GDP. They operated and maintained the Suez Canal through which about 10% of global trade passes every day. The economy of Egypt is based on civilian industry and labor. This includes oil and gas, textile manufacturing, and agriculture. As for Sudan, the agriculture is the most important economic sector in the country. Sudan exports cotton, peanut, gum arabic, sugar, and sesame seeds. Oil is also an important export industry in Sudan. Estimates suggest that oil accounts for between 70% and 90% of Sudan's total export. The main importers of Sudanese oil are Japan, China, South Korea, Indonesia, and India.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is ADIB bin Muhammadiyah. Today, I will share to all of you regarding economic activities that happen in Southwest Asia. The majority of activity in this region is nomadic livestock, raising and subsistence agriculture. Fishing in Mediterranean Sea, Caspian Sea, and Persian Gulf is another profitable activity. Intensive agriculture and forestry generate very little income due to the arid land. In this discussion, I will tell you about some of the great powers countries that exist in this region with their economic activities. However, apart from the activities that I mentioned, the large number of this region income is entirely dedicated on its enormous amount of petroleum, which is refined into oil. This region contains 1/2 of the world's oil reserve, and many countries, including the United States of America, rely on it for supply. Other important resources that have an impact on the region economy are oil, coal, copper, hydroelectric power, iron ore, natural gas, and petroleum. For the hydroelectric power, is the most essential resource in some parts of this region, including Turkey, Iran, Lebanon, and Afghanistan. Its primary function is to generate water-powered electricity while also serving as a source of fresh water. The Arabian Peninsula, Iran, and Iraq all have significant oil fields. The majority of the oil reserves are found along the Persian Gulf coast. Southwest Asia is a very important region because of its massive reserve. Oil is the primary resource. Money earned from oil is used to develop other aspects of their economic. Particularly, Water Development Project (OPEC), Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, was established to assist members in controlling global oil prices by adjusting oil prices and production quotas. Members from Southwest Asia, including Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Iran, and Iraq. Due to the scarcity of agricultural land in this region, they rely on oil and natural gas resources to generate revenue. This funding will be used to upgrade and expand transportation and communication system, as well as power, water, and sanitation plants. Turkey is expanding its water resources and hydroelectric plants in order to increase cotton and other agricultural product production. Iran is struggling as a result of government changes and the war with Iraq. The majority of the economic change that are taking place are fueled by oil money. Meanwhile, Iraq was placed under an economic embargo on oil sales by the UN after fighting 10 years with Iran, invading Kuwait and causing the Persian Gulf War. As a result, the people have been deprived of basic necessities such as food and medicine. Lastly, Afghanistan is one of the poorest countries on the planet. Its economy is entirely dependent on subsistence agriculture and animal husbandry. It is landlocked, lack infrastructure to transport goods from one location to another, and the government in charge has rejected modernization effort. That's all for me. Thank you very much.
Last but not least, we move on to current issue on Northern Africa and Southwestern Asia. So from Northern Africa sub-region, I only choose Libya and Sudan. This issue is regarding economy, oil and gas. It's reported in Al Jazeera website on 29 April 2022. The title states that Libya is losing $60 million a day in the oil shutdown. From the article, I can point out that since mid-April, Libya's two major export terminals and several oil fields have been held hostage to the country's latest political citizens. Production has fallen by about 600,000 barrels a day. Half of the period level, Minister of Oil and Gas Mohammed Aoun said in an interview with AFP at its office in Tripoli. According to the sale price at $100 a barrel, losses are at least $60 million daily. Since Russia began its invasion of Ukraine in February, triggering Western sections, global crude prices have been reached level unseen since 2014. The Libyan closures follow the selection in February of a new Prime Minister, FATIHAH, by Libya's based parliament in a direct challenge to Tripoli-based interim Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dibeiba. While for current issue that happened in Sudan that are found on 15 April 2022 is about politics and economy. There are some points I can take out from the article. First, more than 18 million Sudanese could face acute hunger by the end of the year. According to the World Food Programme, WFP doubled the number that were in need in 2021. Tens of thousands of people have, meanwhile, fled violence in recent months, with the Darfur region especially badly affected. Since October, more than 90 protesters have been killed, and there have been reports of women being raped. At least 45 people were killed in South Darfur State early in this month. According to local officials, while dozens more were killed in March in West Darfur State's Jabal Moon area. Internal divisions have become increasingly apparent within the security apparatus, which fears full citizen control would damage its economic interests and lead to accountability for the past right abuses. Former civilian Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok headed the executive space and resigned in January amid criticisms from the resistance committees who said the agreement was a smokescreen for military hegemony. The US political missions in Sudan, known by its acronym UNITAMS, then launched a consultations process to resolve the post-coup deadlock.
Hi, my name is ALIA BINTI DARUS. Current issue 3. Following Russia invasion of Ukraine, Saudi oil giant Aramco saw profit jump by more than 80% in the first 3 months of the year, as the government backup company factored in global energy market uncertainty and rising oil price. Saudi Arabian Oil Company reported record a net income of $39.5 billion, up from $21.7 billion in the previous year. Economic growth has been rebounded and global coronavirus restrictions have been eased, restoring demand for hydrocarbon and delivering strong annual yields. Oil prices spiked to a 14-year high of $139 per barrel in March, shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine, but then fell as Russia oil continued to flow and new closure weighed on China's oil. Aramco overtook Apple as the world's most valuable company with a market value of $2.43 trillion. Saudi Arabia reported the fastest economic growth rate in the decade in early May, with the fast-growing oil sector driving a 9.6% increase in the first quarter of 2021. The world's largest oil exporter has resisted U.S. requests to increase output in order to lower price, which have risen since the start of the Ukraine conflict. Current issue 4. 3 people were killed by Israel ground-to-surface missiles near Damascus, Syria capital. The missile was launched from the Israel-held Golan Heights. 3 military officers were killed and 4 other members of air defense crew were injured as a result of the Israel enemy's aggression. According to the Monitor, the Israel attack targeted Iranian position and weapon depots near Damascus. The latest attack comes after 5 people were killed in central Syria on May 13 and 10 fighters, including 6 Syrian soldiers, were killed near Damascus. Since the civil war Syria began in 2011, Israel has launched hundreds of airstrikes against government forces. Syria's civil war has killed nearly 500,000 people and displaced roughly half of the country's pre-war population. That's all from us. Thank you everyone for listening.